Hello, and welcome. Hi, Jess. I've missed you. I haven't seen or heard from you in like weeks now. At least not your voice. But welcome to the Table Talk today. You know, not a lot of news going on. And Walker has a chokehold. Sorry. No. Trust me. I just spent like the last 6-7 days playing Endwalker as much as I can while maintaining the relationships I have.
The amount of times I have been working today and just saw like Bad Luck Gamer is playing Final Fantasy like 14. The amount of times I've seen that open.
Yeah. It's weird that it keeps opening up like that. Strange. Well, it's probably just if you're on Steam, I guess it's just the refresh thing.
It's just Steam.
Just Steam being Steam.
Yep, and I hate that part of Steam. I hate that it does that.
I finally finished the story though, so now I can go back to living a normal semblance of a life. Hey, Slug. So yeah. Not too much news. Was just talking some interesting video facts. Actually, I was gonna mention one more. The Swashbuckler video, despite doing about the same as Summoner, got way more subscribers than Summoner did.
Yo, let's go!
So I think that call to action you did at the beginning was really, really good.
Hell yeah. I'll have to do more of them.
Well, Jess, I don't know what to say other than you can do it on New Game Plus. You might as well beat the story before anything gets spoiled. But yeah, Swashbuckler, like, despite doing about the same, got way more subscribers. So, you know, interesting. I think that call to action in the beginning was really good. It's just been interesting trying to figure out, because as much as these two videos, I say they haven't been doing as good as like Ranger, for instance. I think they're still doing better than like Champion or Alchemist did at this point. And let me check. Stream facts.
The hidden information. The stuff they don't want you to know.
Yeah, the deep info. The deep lore of YouTube. Nope, actually Alchemist was, yeah, so for some reason in the first week for Swashbuckler and Summoner, they're just doing somewhat worse than
They're just sleeper hits, just you wait.
Maybe. I don't know, maybe it's a thumbnail thing.
Oh. You could always try messing with them. Also hate him.
I don't know, just one of those really bizarre bizarre things. What about Champion? Doing better than Champion did.
Well, that's something.
Got a bunch of jokesters in chat today. But yeah. So hope you're all having a great holiday season so far. I know for some it's not the best season, and I know for others it's just a season of stress for getting gifts for people and all that kind of stuff. I'm getting married to a Christmas zealot, and ever since like Thanksgiving, it's just been like, all right, what gifts are we getting? Hopefully we have enough money. It's just like, oh god.
Well, I mean,
Decorations in the house you can see in
planning
my
for
background.
Christmas, it's not too bad. I actually did something unlike myself, and I actually had stuff set out for like the 1st of December. I was able to get presents for everybody like really early, so I don't have to worry about it. I have other work things I have to stress about.
Yeah,
but they're not Christmas related.
That's true.
It's just tabletop related.
Well, that's funny you mention that, because today we're going to be talking about short and long campaigns, the good and the bad, and comparing the two and judging, what's right for you in your group of people. It's a hard subject, but I want to start out by asking first, Alex, what if I was to offer you your ideal campaign with like guaranteed top-notch players, guaranteed everyone's available when it comes out, like, what do you think, if everything was perfect, your ideal campaign length would be?
Like a year.
Like 1 year?
Yeah. Well, the thing is it actually, my thoughts on long and short is more of the case of if I already have a game going, because I think having like 1 or 2 long campaigns is like fine. Like that's good. I would prefer to have 1 long campaign and then like a short one, or like a few, like 2 short ones. But like having 1 long campaign with like a short one is usually my preferred.
Well, I'm talking about like all things standard. Like
all things standard, I would say long, because for me to like really love a game, I have to do my typical play a character with a planned long story arc and like character development, which that usually takes like a good chunk of time if to do it in a way I like.
Right. And so all things perfect, you don't have any other games to worry about or anything like that. How long do you think?
A year.
A year.
Yes.
Okay. And we're talking weekly games, right?
Oh yeah, weekly.
Okay. That's another part of the puzzle, I think, is a long campaign is longer or shorter depending on how many times you play a month. This anime game has gone on super long because we keep missing sessions.
Yeah.
Honestly, if we had every session back that we missed, we'd be done with the anime game already.
True.
And Slug going 2 years.
I mean, it's about to be 3 years old, but I haven't been in all those 3 years. I've been in that one for like a year.
And now, you kind of went into it before, but the question I'm going to pose is why? Why do you think a year is good? Just for reference, and I'm going to look this up because I don't want to do math. That's 52 sessions. 52 sessions. For a game, and you say that feels pretty optimal, right?
I would say that's an optimal, because I feel like it hits a really sweet spot between because I feel like games that go on for like some games, they go on for a long time, and a lot of things change in like a year or even like a few months. And having like a year, that's enough time that like something can change, but not like completely derail. Like, oh, I just had a complete life change, and now I'm absolutely unavailable for this thing. I feel like it hits a spot of like enough variability that like if something comes up, you can like handle it outside of game. But like for 2 to 3, I think that's too much, like too big of a like amount of time that like, you know, increases the likelihood of a game just being dropped. Like,
I mean, that's fair. I'm likely to have a kid in the next like 2 years, so you know,
yeah,
that's a huge life change. And granted, for most people, I'm sure you're not expecting kids within 5 years. But how old am I? I'm 30. If anything, I'm late to the game. I'm as old as my parents had me, and I'll be older still when we actually do have a kid, because we're waiting until we're in a much better living situation, because this apartment's just not good for kids. But it's highly likely that in like 2 years, gonna be an aunt. Yeah, well, my poor kid's gonna have so many aunts and uncles. But yeah. Oh, I mean, that's fair too. Can I be the kid's bad influence? Oh, trust me, they're gonna get plenty of that.
Oh my god, yeah.
But yeah, no, it's you're right. I think a year is a really good amount of time that you can say my life shouldn't change that much unexpectedly in a year.
Yeah, honestly. Like, if I were to join a game right now, like, I have absolutely no fucking clue what I'm doing in 2 years. I don't know. I have absolutely no idea if I'm gonna be in the same city I'm in. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen, so, like, you know, I wouldn't make a long commitment, like, at this point, like, for a little bit, until, like, I can figure out roughly, like, what I'm gonna be doing in the next, like, while. So I find something, like, consistent.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing too. The grand majority, I would wager probably 80% or more tabletop players are between the ages of 25 and 45. Like a really good chunk. I think there's definitely a lot more now people who are younger than that who are playing. But if you take out the ones who just tried it a few times casually, you know, like I'm talking like hardcore, tries to do tabletop every week kind of players. It's mostly people between 25 and 45 on average.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And in that age group, that's when your life changes the most dramatically. Like, people could argue that like your late teens, early 20s, a lot of stuff changes. And while that's true, it's not as drastic as like having a kid, buying a house, actually getting into your career, you know. Going to college, big life change, and like it's like typically when you leave for college is when your life really starts changing a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'd say.
But
I don't, like while I've been living like where I am and going to college, like my life's changed a lot more. It's been wild.
And you know what? Actually, that's fair. You know what? I'll broaden my range too. Even if we're talking some people between the ages of like 18 and 25, right? Your life's changing a bunch. You're moving. You're doing new things. You're finding new hobbies, starting new relationships, all that kind of stuff. A year's a lot of time. I have lost like decade-long friendships over the course of a year before, you know. Like, I've had a year where like everything I knew standardly changed as time kept going on, and it's scary, you know. You just never know. But yeah, I mean, a lot can happen in a year, but a year's a lot more reliable than 2 or 3. That's for sure. And then there's also the problem with keeping momentum up in a campaign. I can say without a shadow of a doubt, no matter how much you love a campaign, all campaigns are predisposed to losing steam the longer it goes. Like, our anima game's a really good example. We were there for a lot of the sessions in the beginning, like every week consistently, and it's just been getting worse and worse with time.
Yeah.
And I can't honestly say that Monday is so terrible of a day that it just doesn't work. I think it's just a lot of momentum has been lost. And that's okay. That's normal, you know.
It happens.
You can like something and lose steam with it. You can still like something after you've lost steam with it.
Then I wonder, like, at least turn the tables back. If a game loses steam, what are some ways you can use to, like, I don't know, bring it back?
That's really hard. Because people are so, like, obsessive based beings that losing that obsession, it's so hard to pick it back up. Some groups take breaks and come back feeling refreshed and can hit it again. I think, and something that, you know, should be considered more is, rather than saying, you know, we'll try, and if it doesn't work, come out, legitimately put the game off, put it on a hiatus, like an official hiatus, take a month, and then try to come back to it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But don't just be like, well, we've missed a few sessions, so everyone should be getting back to, you know, like, if the expectation is there, it's not going to make anyone less stressed that a session is coming up, even if it's, like, reasonably expected to be missed.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Other than that, I legitimately cannot say there are many really good ways to reinvigorate a campaign. I've reinvigorated one long-term game. It was during the time when Devin was in the Navy, so we could only play for like a month at a time. And we did play online a bit, but then he got a roommate who was just ass. So that made things harder. And in the Navy, he's been in the Navy. Anyway, he was in Okinawa, Japan for
Slug's learned a lot today.
4, yeah, apparently, like 4 years. But anyway, we came back, but when we came back, only one player kept the same character, and we had some new players jump in, and we had a prior older player switch to a different character. And it was enough of a cast change where we just kept up the narrative, and we had some new blood in it and everything like that, where essentially we just started a new game. It was just on a pre-going, you know, like, I don't think it's applicable because 90% of the characters changed.
Yeah. That makes sense. That sounds like basically it's a new game.
And so, you know, like, if you have a game that it's not even burnout, it's just like a loss of momentum, as I said before, there's not really a good way, especially when you're towards the end of the adventure, because you gotta get back into character, you gotta get back into the flow, and you gotta finish it out. It's just kind of a tragic loss when that happens. You know, it's like spilled milk, right? Like, if you really wanted to, you could sponge it up and put it back in the cup, but it's not gonna be the same. And you're better off just not drinking it, you know?
Is that what that saying comes from?
What? No.
Like, crying over spilled... Okay, because...
Crying over spilled milk is just a reference to...
Spilling milk?
Spilling milk and being upset about it. Like, everyone spills milk, right?
Okay, because you said it in such a way, with such confidence, that I believe that was a common occurrence, and I got very, like, worried for a second.
Well, it's because it's based on the premise of you can't get the milk back. No matter what you do. When you spill it, it's gone. You know.
Okay, cool. Glad we cleared that up.
Man, I don't know with you sometimes.
I don't know either.
And, you know, you can either struggle to keep playing the game, possibly missing more games. You're just continuing on and not playing because there's another game that you should be playing, but something keeps coming up. You know what I mean? Like, you're missing out on a bunch more enjoyment and fun you could be having with that time that you're spent over, like, sentimentality. And I say this not as someone who doesn't, or as someone who doesn't care about it. I want my games to finish. Like, the Anima game is a really good example. I want Anima to finish, but man, has it been a struggle.
Yeah, that's why I've been saying, like, we should try to like play bi-weekly, or even like if we just take like a month or so off, like I feel like it would be good. We just need to like take a little break from it. I think it might be a good call.
Yeah, maybe I'll just do that.
Yeah,
because whenever I ask everyone, they're like, no, I can keep going, and then
yeah, no, if you just say we're putting the Anima game on hiatus for a month and a half, like just do that. I think it would go fine. I think
I might just do that now just because it's Christmas anyway, so
yeah, sure.
It's a busy month. Vale has been psychically stabbed and doesn't know where it came from.
Yeah, it's also their work. Good boy.
That you were in the Navy, Devin. So yeah, like campaign length is such a major factor, and I think it's not something that can be so readily and easily fixed because life gets in the way. Because you know, like people just need to survive sometimes, and sometimes you just need mental health days, you know.
Very true.
It's just one of those things. There's just like you can love a game and still need a mental health day, you know. Especially if you work hard and you do your games on your weekends because that's the only chance you get. But you're just like, you've been blasted by work so much and you just need that mental health day.
Yeah.
Like, that's just going to happen. And sometimes life, like one thing that could fuck a game up, right, is someone really shitty gets hired at your job and it just increases the amount of stress you gain every day at work. And then on your weekends, you just can't. You just aren't yourself. You got to take some time to decompress and compartmentalize all the stress for the next week.
Honestly, like a little like thing like that. Also, off topic, but I want to add to the friend group lore, Slug. I'm pretty sure you don't know this about me, but y'all remember that really bad earthquake in 2011 in Japan? The one that caused a massive tsunami and that one reactor to like fucking explode? I was there. I was in Japan then. I went through that earthquake and tsunami.
Nuts.
There you go. There's my little tidbit of lore.
What's some good lore on me? For about 4 months, I was in youth circus.
Fucking excuse me?
Yeah.
What? See, I'm surprised I don't know about.
There's a picture of me somewhere painted as a clown.
Ugh. I hate clowns.
But yeah, no, I was in youth circus for a very short amount of time.
How old were you? Like when you did that?
16, I think. 17.
Oh, okay. I like yeah. I like they had to specify. You didn't just do something heartless. You didn't just like feed a kangaroo a treat and then like club it over the head.
It's a good specification. You didn't do anything wrong. It's just super funny.
I think it's specifying, like, it's calling out the the correlation that wouldn't have been found.
Yeah.
That the alternative is that you see a kangaroo in like a zoo and it's like, oh hell yeah, this cool kangaroo, they just club it.
But yeah, so that's some fun lore about me that not many people know. I mean, that's what you normally do with farm animals. Honestly, it's not a very strange idea.
No, not at all. The fucking Death Note, like shit music.
Yep. I try to change it up, but honestly, a lot of these playlists are like not super hot. I don't know. It's not bad. It's just background noise.
Yeah, that's what I use for.
But you know, there's so many things about a campaign, and so, you know, for some people it's better to just play short campaigns. Like, I think everyone ideally wants that fantasy of going from low to high level, playing out the entire character's journey, you know? And I think that's the expectation that a lot of people get, because tabletop games in general do not specify or have in a design anything other than you just play until you level and finish the game, you know? Especially because there's late game abilities. You want to get late game abilities, and to get late game abilities you have to play until the late game.
I think it's definitely because, like, when you think of the idea of a short-term campaign, the immediate connotation in your mind is, oh, so just a bunch of like campaigns from like 1 to 5, like, you know, not thinking about like higher level campaigns at all.
Yeah.
So I will agree that is where my mind immediately goes. I know, I like logically know, that's not how it always is, but I immediately think, oh, so it's just a bunch of campaigns from like 1 to 5.
Right. And then there's also that knee-jerk reaction of, I'm not going to be able to establish my character in the time allotted.
See, I think that's actually a big thing too, because I think the beauty and my favorite thing of short-term campaigns is I believe that there are honestly 2 classifications of a character that you can like play. That is like a long-term and a short-term character, because there is a distinction there. Not every character can function in like a really long story, because not everyone's character arc's that long. Not everyone is that interesting of like a character to like play that long. I will say someone like that I've played in a short campaign like Calden, it would not be as good in a long campaign. I think he's really good in like short bursts, because his thing is, haha, I am a rogue, but I'm not an edgelord. But then, like, later in a short campaign, I found, oh, but he's capable of horrific acts. But that's the character concept, is just rogue that doesn't act like an edgelord. Or some like the characters I'm working on currently, like my preacher gunslinger. I don't see him that being very interesting for like longer than like 10 sessions. or my automaton time traveler. I don't see him being interesting like for longer than 10 sessions because he's just a robot. But then there's characters I do have that are like really long because I've built into their into the character like a really complex psychology that I can like dig into and like expand on and like subtly alter as I play the game. And that's I like being able to do that, having the freedom of like a game where I can play like some short character concepts I have and see like how they are and maybe expand them later, or a character that I can really like sink my teeth into and like really just be for like a year.
So, do you think the average player has that kind of distinction with characters they make?
Probably not. This is what makes sense in my head. And it's a distinction I had to make once we started talking about like short campaigns, because like I was under the opinion of like, well, I still kind of am. I suck at making characters. I'm really bad at it. I cannot just make a character, like sit down and make one. I have to actually naturally come up with one. And the issue is I was always looking at it from the perspective of making a really long, complicated character. But now I can like think about it and like, okay, I can make a character that's really long. That's like, I have a few ideas set in the back burner for those, like work on those over time. And then I have characters that are like, here's little character concepts I've come up with as I'm going, and I can just make a build and see what happens.
Right. That's how it starts. And then you get character creation.
I just can't. I naturally just think too much about my characters to just put one down and make another one.
I'm definitely not as bad as some. I'm someone who makes characters out of necessity more than out of like desire to make a character. Pathfinder's been rough though. Pathfinder, I've had a lot of character ideas. I'm just like, this is a really fun idea. This is a really interesting character concept. Oh man, I'd like to put this down on paper. Other games I've definitely been like, I'll make a character when I know I'm going to be playing a game, because there's no point in me making a bazillion characters. Especially because I'm such a fast thinker that you can set me down and I'll have a character done without any prep time in under an hour.
Fair.
So it's like, why would I make a bunch of characters in my free time? If I did that, there'd just be too many, you know?
Yeah.
There's a lot, but let's talk about short campaigns for a second. Do you think short campaigns are even worth it?
Yeah.
Why do you think so?
Because you can tell a fun short story and have a good time with friends. Like, honestly, like, not every story needs to be a sprawling epic. You can just have like a 10 sessions of a little like joke thing, 10 sessions of like, or even shorter than that. Like, you can just run tiny little stories. Not everything needs to be some sprawling grand epic with world stakes. You can just have like a 5-part like campaign where you like have to manage a restaurant and like weird fantasy shit keeps happening. Like that kind of stuff. It's what matters is that you're sitting down playing a game with friends. Like, that's what's worth it. Like, campaign length shouldn't really like, I guess, factor in a crazy amount. If you're just gonna sit down and have fun, like, who cares if it's gonna be a year? Who cares if it's gonna be like a few weeks?
Okay. I think I agree to the most part. I also like the idea of people making characters that are not meant to get to level 20. The great thing about short-term campaigns is you can fill your world with PCs and NPCs that make sense for the world, you know. Any D&D to do fantasy? Ew, D&D to flirt with friends, though. Winky face.
My nightmare.
Excuse me. That if you make characters with the concept of they're not meant to be level 20 powerhouses, that means that you're making the truly epic characters actually worthy of that epicness. You know what I mean? Like, if it feels like any Jane or Joe, you know, can get to level 20, it doesn't feel that awesome. But if you approach it from the concept that not all characters get to level 20, and you put in the headspace that epic characters are actually epic people, you might actually make a character who should be in a longer campaign versus one who honestly should only get to like level 10 or level 12. And the finale went well. I think we had a really good resolution, and we got some more player shenanigans, and just, man, level 15 characters are way stronger than you think.
Level 12?
15.
Oh shit, yeah, I mean, I have yet to play level 15 characters, so I wouldn't know.
I think Vale did like 170 damage in one turn, and Suzanne did like 100, a little over 100 in one turn. And this is the thing is, in the overpowered one shot, I didn't even bother giving the players like a full kit. Like, each person had like between 1 and like maybe 5 items on their character. Damn. And not all of them were even like gear, like equipment. Like, it was like a weapon, an armor, maybe a staff, or whatever. And they just utterly stomped everything. It was great. Level 15 characters are really, really powerful.
Yeah, I hope to one day be in a short campaign. It's like 15 to 20. That sounds like it'd be a great time.
That would be interesting. And that's definitely something I want to do with these short-term campaigns that I'm currently running. Because, one, I want to give players the opportunity to play with the game in all levels, so that they can see like, oh, I like this idea, or oh, I don't like this idea. Especially because, man, after level 10, you start becoming a superhero more and more and more.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, in Galarian lore, getting to level 20 does not mean you can ascend to godhood. In fact, there's many level 20 plus characters who can't, because they're not powerful enough.
They messed up their build. The gods
it's not even that.
The
they're
gods
just
are up there calling them scrubs.
Don't you want to ascend? It's not about wanting to. It's about being able to. Also, you can't have a living world that has players ascending to godhood unless you really trust those players to do so.
Do you trust me?
No.
What?
Not at all.
Why would you not trust me to ascend to godhood?
Let me Uno reverse this on you. Why should I trust you?
Because it would be really funny. Imagine.
And you just proved my point.
All I'm saying is I should ascend to godhood, and then leverage your growing clout to make my character canon.
It's scary that can happen.
I don't know what I'd do. Like, that's obviously not going to happen, like, ever.
No.
But if that did, I don't know what I'd do. That would be very strange.
I mean, that's how like 90% important characters in D&D came about.
Just like someone played them.
Yeah.
That's someone's character, yeah.
But Jess, why did you start this? It's just the more you put on a long campaign being a very serious campaign, the more short campaigns can be a lot more relaxed and easy and fun. You don't have to play all your short campaigns like your character is going to ascend to 20 eventually, you know. So have fun with it. Have characters that can populate the world and be interesting interactions and all that kind of stuff. And get all your sillies out before you start actually a long-term campaign. Because, like, let's use a reference from your end, Alex. The Garbage Man.
That was fun, though.
That was fun, though.
I also never run my games like crazy serious. So it worked. It fit the tone of that. But if I was trying to run a serious campaign, like, yeah, that would be an issue. I always ran my shit like I always did. The framework was serious, but like the actual content inside is actually really goofy. But that's I guess me in general. But no, if I was doing a serious campaign, that'd be a serious issue, and something I would be like annoyed with. But no, I see what you mean too. Like, getting that out in like in a short campaign is good, because then you're like, I've done this weird thing, I have this story, now I can make a serious character and, like, you know, do something like for real.
And that's just the thing too, is there's just a lot of different styles of game. Some DMs want a game world that feels immersive and intense, and they want to create, you know, a narrative for their players that feels like a legitimate fantasy, something you could write for a book or something you could play for like a JRPG, something like that. You can't have that kind of feeling, that kind of narration with totally bonkers characters either in the game or in the lore.
Yeah.
Like, imagine trying to play... Oh, God. I don't know of any JRPGs that... Okay, imagine... Man, I was going to use Persona, but Persona's a really bad example.
No, don't use... I was about to say, like, if you bring SMT into any of it, don't. The demon designs are fucking weird and goofy.
They are.
Yeah, it's not... That's not a good example.
I don't know what other RPGs you play.
Fallout. I play a lot of
Fallout's also not a really good example.
No,
because
Fallout's a really good example.
It's got some weird shit in it, man.
It's got very weird shit, but it doesn't detract from it. It fits the world, like the weird.
Yeah.
If there was a character that is like a way too much of a joke, like it would, but the jokey shit in like Fallout is still like layered in seriousness. Like the goofiest character I can think of in, say, New Vegas is like the king. And he's like, oh, it's an Elvis guy. But then once you actually talk to them, you're like, oh, there's actually a really good reason for this to exist in this world. Like, there's goofy stuff. It just has to have, like, a justification. It can't just be goofy for the sake of goofy.
Oh, no, because there could also be a Shrek reference in a game of a super mutant in a swamp that yells, "Get out of my swamp!" and shoots you with the chain gun.
Yeah.
So
that sounds great.
Honestly, I would not be surprised if that's in any of the Fallouts.
If it was in a Fallout game, you'd have to click an option to turn it on. So that's how it always works. But no, I see your point.
But yeah. Man, I play a lot of serious like narrative games, but I love serious narrative games. I want experiences like legitimately playing Final Fantasy 14 recently. I was tearing up in some of the scenes. Like, I cared about the narrative a lot, and it's really good. But I played a very serious character with, you know, a concept and a backstory in mind for it. Didn't write anything or anything, just in my head canon, you know. But I've now, since beating the game, watched other people beat the game, and it's just super bizarre to see their character walking through the end credits with like a chocobo head on.
Meanwhile, at the same time you've been doing this, I've been playing Mass Effect with my main character, Master Shepard, who is in my headcanon Master Chief, who got transported to the Mass Effect universe and is essentially the Giga Chad meme. I messed with his head shape to just be the Giga Chad. I enjoyed the story thoroughly. It's a very serious game, like Mass Effect 1. I was immersed, but every once in a while my character would turn his head, and I thought it was very funny.
Yeah. See, I don't know. Everyone plays a very different way, so like
Yeah.
it's very legitimate. And also, Jess, nodders. That's I love that, hearing that so much. What we're talking about is there's like the Empire, and they're kind of like a Russian nation in Final Fantasy, essentially. They're the super tech kind of like main antagonists. And they've had a theme song from like the very beginning of A Realm Reborn to now. In the most recent expansion, a lot of the old classic songs have been remastered and reworked.
Oh, nice.
And they changed it, the Imperial theme song, into a radio version that sounds very like Fallout 3 style kind of audio.
Ooh.
And they expanded it and altered it a little bit, so you still recognize the tone, but it feels like you're listening to it on like an old-timey radio.
Nice.
It was really good. That was one of those moments that made me just like the thing is like you can't. I think you can't have super serious moments with characters who aren't super serious. Not to say that they are themselves serious personality-wise, but they have to be done with intent on being in that kind of narrative. Some people manage the Adventure Zone is a really good example of a bunch of really weird characters who eventually transform into very serious characters as the narrative goes along.
They still have goofy moments, but they keep the tone like well enough. Like it's they know when to be serious and they know when to joke. Shit. I also I'm looking through my computer because I thought I had a screenshot of Master Shepherd. I do not have a screenshot of him. I'll have to go in and show people. I was delighted this morning because there's an option in Mass Effect 2 to just import your character and your saves, and I imported it. It was Master Shepherd just as I made him. I was really happy to see him.
Glad you're having fun.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I do disagree in some aspects. I think it depends on the person. I think
I do too.
I think you can have a joke character be serious and enjoy a serious story with a joke character. I think it depends on the group, depends on the people. I think in our games like that we play, I don't think it would work for how you run a game and like the group we have. But like for my own end, I can enjoy and be immersed in like a really cool sci-fi story with a lot of really interesting twists and hard decisions with a joke character where the whole time in my head canon, he's just Worsh Cortana. I can't find her anywhere. What is this Covenant doing here? Why are they all robots? But like,
see,
you know.
And see, that's the thing. Like if I had a character like that, I could not get as immersed with that kind of headcanon. And I agree. And like I said, Adventure Zone's a good example of like character. Like one of the characters literally named Taco.
Yeah. And then Taco has like a genuinely kind of like really depressing backstory.
Yeah. Like to be fair, I think when they started, they weren't really expecting it to go.
They started the Adventure Zone as a one-off thing they did for their normal podcast. Like it started with them just being like, oh yeah, we're just gonna play the like Mind Defend Eldritch just for fun, and then people were like, oh, but they like this? All right, I guess we'll do something for real. And then it skyrocketed.
Yeah.
I followed the podcast around the same time that was becoming a thing, so it was in the neck of it. I was listening to the Adventure Zone as the episodes were dropping.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I think you can, but I will also posit that their characters became less joke characters as time went on.
Yes. There's an arc where they're just more serious characters.
Characters with a sense of humor or who do quirky things are not necessarily not serious characters. But
very true.
That's the thing. That's why I say I think you have to at least have the concept in mind of them being actually done seriously. Because while your whole Master Shepherd thing is funny and great and everything like that, could you role play with a goofy character like that
Oh,
and still feel
probably
like
not.
still feel like you can get that deep narrative experience?
Oh yeah, not in like a tabletop game. In a video game, yeah. Video game
Yeah.
easy because it's just me. It's my own enjoyment out of it. In my world too, like Master Shepherd was also like, I made a character for him too. Like besides the fact he was just Master Chief, he also was very like, I'll stick to the mission, anything for the mission. And the main villain Saren, anytime Saren was on screen, he was very angry and was yelling at him like the whole time. Like Saren's like, listen, Shepherd. He's like, no, fuck you. Get over here! I want to punch you in the face.
And let's not get things twisted here. It's not like I don't think that's fun and entertaining.
No, yeah, I get you. I'm also talking about this character I really like playing.
No, so, that's great. That's what
totally.
We're here for, honestly. That's all table talk is talking about characters and games that we got really immersed into in some form or fashion. So when it comes to like a shorter game and a longer game, think about what you can feasibly promise as far as your time is concerned. Then slap yourself and think of what you should be promising for your time. Because what you think you can do and what you know you shouldn't do are going to typically be two very different times. And also, another thing to consider as well is what kind of game you want to have and what kind of character you want to play. If it's a short-term game, your DM is probably not going to be too like eye-rolly when you bring up the weird character who just like, I'm just going to play a javelin kobold and I just carry 20 javelins with me all the time, and in combat all I do is throw javelins.
Oh, that's great. I like that character idea, but yeah, you're right.
You know, the DMs probably were like, okay, that's weird, but whatever, we're here for 15 sessions, you know, do whatever, be your best javelin kobold.
Yeah.
Like all your characters' weight is just javelins. I made a really funny idea for a character just out on a whim. Now I gotta look into that. I'm very curious how viable that is.
I hope that's viable because that's
it really can be, because you can get feats to make it where you can draw a weapon and throw and strike with it at the same time. So you can just draw and chuck a javelin with a single action.
Very good.
Old fashioned missile launcher, just chucking lots of javelins. Anyway, got super sidetracked there. But if it's a longer game and you're like, I'm gonna play a kobold who just loves collecting javelins and wants nothing to do but to get javelins to throw at enemies in combat, and he's also gonna be super obsessed about retrieving those javelins, and your DM's like, you guys are gonna go fight the Orc Lord who's just been sweeping the northern continent. Are you sure that's your character?
Yeah.
And was Raishan the one in Quentin's one shot, Jess? Because this is actually a very interesting idea too. I also think you can have characters who are too serious for a long game.
Yes. I mean, that's just in general. You can play a character that's just way too serious, and like that cannot be fun sometimes.
Yeah, if it can be fun to play a character who's very high tension, very high stress for a short game, like a one shot. But if you have to do that for a year, just imagine the emotional toil it would be. Like, okay, time to become anti-fun.
Yeah.
And Quentin's one shot, I played a very interesting dwarf who was like a warlock, a tome warlock, Yeah, a Tome Warlock with Blood Hunter, who essentially became a general for the Plane of Fire in like this fire elementals like war they were having on their plane. And he was coming to collect like Essence of God to help out with that battle. And my character had like a raspy voice. He has very serious, very strategic, a really great character concept, great character idea. I think I'm really proud of that character. I cannot run that character for longer than like that one shot because
Yeah.
his like vocal cords were all raspy and it was just too much. Fun character, not a long-term game. There's also the thing of like the kind of characters that you enjoy playing versus not enjoy playing, and the process of figuring that out so that you can get over your character failure in case that may happen, because character failure is such a thing where you pick a character, you find you have a really good idea, and then in practice it just doesn't feel as fun to play as the narrative you made for the character.
Like Bishop, I'd say would be a good short character. I could not play him for very long. He's just I don't know. I could have maybe done more with him, but like it was he seems like he'd be a short-term campaign character unless he do some serious work. That and also is in the middle of me getting fucking burnout. So
yeah. So this is my plea to everyone who's watched the video up until this point, which there's a fair number of people who do. Consider short-term games. Have fun with short-term games. Develop your skills as a player and role player in short-term games, so that when you do have your long-term games that come along, you can blow it out of the park with all the skills you picked up running short-term game characters. And if you're a DM, please love yourself. Please love yourself and run short-term games. At least if you have a long-term game already and you want to do more, make all your other games short-term games.
It's a good idea.
It's one of those things where a short-term game, I think, is a highly underutilized tool that honestly a lot of people are jumping into tabletop and they're trying to jump into 2-year-long campaigns. And it's like you're dedicating 2 years to something that you're just not good at yet. You don't have the practice, you know. You don't have the knowledge to get the most out of that 2-year campaign. And that's, I think, why a lot of those games end up crashing and burning, you know?
Yeah.
Even, you know, in my game, in the anima game, you know, where we're kind of getting that, not even burnout, but just like that loss of momentum. Like, all the players in it are probably the best role players I have. And I know I'm a good DM and I've been doing it for a long time. But it happens, you know? No matter how good you are, it can happen.
Yeah.
But it's a lot more likely to happen to you when you're new at something than when you're not. So, you know, and that's also one of the things about the short-term games I really like. New players that get to come in, new character concepts, getting to show off different people playing. Unfortunately, they're probably still going to have a lot of the same customers for the next short campaign or two until our community really gets popping. But even then, you know, I want to make sure that I give other people a chance to try and play. And also, it's a good chance for me to get in and help players who are new to tabletop develop good habits and skills early on. Because I've seen players come from bad DMs turn into really bad players who have to like be re-educated to become tolerable.
Yeah, it happens.
Adventures League taught me that.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of players who came in and they're just like, oh yeah, well my DM let me do all this banana shit. And it's just like, cool, but that's not how the game is played. So, you know, try.
Adventure League is it's a trying time.
It's the retail of tabletop.
Yeah.
You know, it's where you go to get your tabletop. That's convenient. You don't have to set anything up, and you know, you can get what you need. It's like buying junk food. It's good.
Sitcom of tabletop.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's like the retail. It's like the convenience store of tabletop. You go there because you know it's cheap and easy, and it's really easy to get to. You don't want to go to like the high premium shops across town and spend a lot of money. Just don't got that energy. Adventures League, you know. I could not do Adventures League probably longer than I was doing it for, though. It was getting pretty rough. Glad I stayed as long as I did, though. It's some good friends and met Suzanne there, and I was thinking about leaving before Suzanne even showed up. So like,
you fucking lucked out hard, dude.
Yeah, I was very lucky.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So yeah, you know, there's just a lot of things where it's like you're not going to know exactly what kind of campaign is going to work best for you. You're not going to know what characters are necessarily going to work for you unless you're someone who's managed to get your science down to a T. And even then, like, even the best of players have character failure. It happens. And replacing characters in a more serious narrative is a lot harder than in a short narrative. It can be done, and I should always recommend, if you're not feeling your character, please swap your character up. You might as well get the most fun out of the time you're dedicating to this.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're just kind of like, you know, you're not playing to your full extent. You're playing like at half power, you know. Like you play like that's what happened with Bishop. That's what happened with me. That's why I changed. I tried to change, but I realized it was a burnout thing, not just a character thing. So it'd be like that. Like change up your character, talk to people, figure out what works for you.
I don't really got much more to say on the matter, honestly.
Yeah, I guess then if we just want to go into fucking free chat. Like,
yeah,
I at least have something like it's
Sure.
not that long. It's a talking to the universe, like to the ether, essentially. Like if this happens.
All right, vent to us.
Okay, so it came up like as a joke, obviously. The whole idea of romance in tabletop. I think that would be a really good topic for a table talk, but I refuse to be part of it.
Well, but
Here's
that's
the thing.
No,
No,
be the
because
counterbalance.
I thought about that, but then the issue is it's 2 hours of me going, I don't like it. It's good. That's all it is. It's gonna be 2 hours of me going, ew, I don't like it. Because I guess there you go, audience. My feeling about tabletop romance. I don't like it. I want no part in it. That's all it ends at.
Why? You brought it
Makes me
up, so now
uncomfortable.
explain why.
Makes me uncomfortable. I don't like it. I don't want to basically flirt with my friends. I find that weird. That's all it comes down to. I ain't into it. I'm uncompromising.